In the early 19th century, Europe was a continent in transition. Empires were weakening, borders were shifting, and the idea of identity was becoming more important than ever before. People were no longer defined only by where they lived, but by who they were, where they came from, and what documents proved their existence. And then, in the year 1817, a mystery appeared that would disturb Europe for generations. On a quiet day in the city of Nuremberg, Germany, a strange teenage boy was found wandering alone in the streets. He could barely walk properly. His movements were stiff, as if he had never used his legs before. He looked confused, frightened, and completely lost. In his hand, he carried a letter addressed to a local military officer. When people tried to speak to him, they quickly realized something was wrong. The boy could barely talk. He knew only a few words and kept repeating the same sentence again and again. "I want to be a cavalryman like my father." No one knew who his father was. No one knew where the boy had come from. When asked his name, he answered quietly, "Kaspar Hauser." Authorities took him into custody, believing he might be a runaway or mentally disturbed. But as days passed, it became clear that Kaspar was unlike anyone they had ever seen. Kaspar claimed that he had spent his entire life locked inside a small, dark room. He said he had never seen another human face. There were no windows, no toys, no books, no sounds of the outside world. He slept on straw and was fed bread and water by an unseen person who only came when he was asleep. Sometimes, he said, the water tasted strange. After drinking it, he would lose consciousness. When he woke up, his hair would be cut and his clothes changed. To many, this sounded impossible. Yet doctors who examined Kaspar found disturbing evidence. His skin was extremely pale. His eyes were sensitive to light. Loud sounds terrified him. He did not understand money, time, or basic social behavior. Even more strangely, his feet were unusually soft, as if he had barely ever walked. Word of Kaspar Hauser spread quickly. Scholars, philosophers, and scientists across Europe became obsessed with him. Some believed he was a scientific miracle, a human raised without society. Others believed he was lying. But as weeks turned into months, Kaspar slowly began to learn. He learned to speak. He learned to write. And as he did, fragments of his memory began to return. This only deepened the mystery. Kaspar began drawing pictures of a dark cell. He described a wooden horse he used to play with. He described a man who never spoke, never showed his face, and never explained why Kaspar was imprisoned. Soon, a shocking theory began circulating across Europe. Some believed Kaspar Hauser was not an ordinary boy at all. They believed he was a stolen royal child. During that era, royal families were powerful and ruthless. Removing a rightful heir was not unheard of. If Kaspar truly belonged to a royal bloodline, his existence threatened the legitimacy of someone else's power. If this theory was true, then Kaspar's imprisonment had been intentional, and someone, somewhere, wanted him silenced. Then, the attacks began. Kaspar was found one day with a deep wound on his forehead. He claimed a hooded man had attacked him and warned him not to reveal his past. Authorities were confused. No attacker was ever found. Some people began to doubt Kaspar's story. They suggested he had injured himself to gain attention. But fear followed him everywhere. He was constantly moved from one guardian to another for protection. Despite this, the attacks did not stop. Years later, in 1833, Kaspar Hauser went for a walk in a garden. He returned bleeding heavily from a stab wound in his chest. He said a stranger had lured him there with the promise of information about his origins. In his hand was a small note written in mirror writing. The message was strange and cryptic. It revealed nothing useful. 3 days later, Kaspar Hauser died. He was only 21 years old. The investigation led nowhere. No killer was identified. No clear motive was proven. And the mystery remained unsolved. To this day, historians still argue. Was Kaspar Hauser truly a lost prince? Was he a victim of a cruel experiment? Or was he a brilliant impostor who fooled an entire continent? What cannot be denied is the impact his story had on Europe. After Kaspar Hauser, European governments began to understand how dangerous an unknown identity could be. Systems of birth registration improved. Citizenship laws became stricter. Documentation became essential. Europe learned that identity was power. Kaspar Hauser's life forced an entire continent to confront uncomfortable questions. What makes a person human? Is identity something we are born with, or something society gives us? And how easily can the truth be erased? More than 200 years later, Kaspar Hauser's grave still exists in Germany, and carved into it are words that perfectly describe his life. Here lies Kaspar Hauser, a mystery of his time, unknown origin, mysterious death, a mystery that changed Europe forever. If you enjoy real mysteries, untold histories, and stories that still have no clear answers, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because many more forgotten mysteries are still waiting to be uncovered.